What's up everyone, me JP2 here, and in today's video, we're gonna go hunting for feraligatr with my XL lurantis in the Open Ultra League. Now, feraligatr has been getting kind of annoying recently, because it's one of the spammiest hydro cannon users out there. Like, it's on par with Swampert basically, and the hydro cannon, especially on the shadow feraligatr, does a lot of damage to basically anything. So, I'm running lurantis because lurantis basically is able to just hard counter feraligatr, because lurantis has the same pacing as feraligatr to a hydro cannon, and leaf blade basically one-shots, and feraligatr does lose CMP to lurantis, so lurantis is basically geared to beat feraligatr unless it's down 2 shields. Anyways, that's pretty much it. Let's go see if we can find some feraligatrs. Alright, so into the first battle, and there it is, a shadow feraligatr. Now, I'm expecting the opponent to switch out pretty soon, but the opponent actually stays in, and as you can see, they lose CMP. Now, the Leaf Blade will grab a shield, because that would take them out, and this is only a Hydro Cannon. Hydro Cannon does not do enough to threaten anything, and the opponent then sends in Ampharos. Now, Steelix kind of shuts down Ampharos, so we're going to send in Steelix, and they do go for a Trailblaze, which boosts their attack, but regardless, we will still tank 2 more Trailblazes if they go for them, so I'm not really worried here. The opponent is going to throw another move. It doesn't matter if it's a Brutal Swing or a Trailblaze, we tank it, and maybe I wouldn't have tanked a third one, but we do get a farm down anyways. The opponent sends back in the Shadow feraligatr, and I can go for 1 Psychic Fangs, and I will be able to go for a Crunch. I do lose CMP, but that's fine. Forcing them to throw works as well. And now I can send in lurantis, and I should be able to just get a full farm down. And what's the opponent got in the back? They have a Shadow Granbull. And this does not look good all of a sudden, because we will get a shield with the first Leaf Blade, and this one won't take him out. And now Annihilate does have to make it to a Night Slash, because if not, we can still lose this game. Thankfully, we are able to make it to a Night Slash, and I think even if we hadn't, we'd just be able to farm him down, but Night Slash takes him out, and we're able to take that game. Also, what's kind of weird is that it did not show that that Night Slash was resisted. I think the game was like just having trouble showing type effectiveness for charge moves, but I don't know. Now, into the next battle, we lead Lurantis into Granbull. The opponent switches out into Cresselia, and we send in Steelix. They're going to go for a Grass Knot, and we will be able to make it to a Crunch before they're able to make it to another Grass Knot. And this is super effective, so let's see if it actually does register that. And it does. Now, the opponent's going to go for a move. Nothing takes us out. Grass Knot definitely doesn't. And we should be able to make it to another Crunch either on CMP or right after this move. The opponent will be going for a Grass Knot. Grass Knot, not going to do much damage, pun intended. And the opponent does make a very nice catch of the Crunch on a Granbull. But the thing is, this works fine for me, as I can rebank a Crunch, send in lurantis, and I have 2 Leaf Blades, and that Crunch does enough to get them into Leaf Blade range. So they can shield the first one, and I will be shielding this move, because I don't think Crunch takes us out, but Close Combat might, and I'm not up to risk it. I'm going to go for this Leaf Blade. This Leaf Blade probably will take him out, and it does. Now the opponent then sends in a Melmetal, and I can just grab a shield here. I'm going to be going for a Superpower. Superpower will either grab a shield or do some huge damage. It also does not register that it was super effective, which is strange, but I think we're going to be seeing a lot of that today. Now we can send in Annihilate, and the opponent sends in Cresselia. I can go for a Night Slash. Now this Night Slash will be grabbing a shield, and I can just either stay in with Annihilate and shield, or switch into Steelix, as I do have a Crunch banked. Moonblast will get a shield. It actually gets the debuff, which is kind of annoying, but we're still going to be able to take him out with a Night Slash, and Melmetal still gets farmed down, so this game's still fine. The opponent will throw a move here. This is just a waste of time, though. They're not taking me out with anything, and we are able to take that game. We see Tentacruel on the lead in the next battle, and this is a pretty bad lead. I have to send in Annihilate, though, because I don't want to switch in my hard counter of Steelix, and Steelix still isn't even a hard counter because they can have Scald. Now I go for the Night Slash. The opponent's going to go for a move here. Just in case it's an Acid Spray, I'm going to no-shield. It is a Scald, obviously, and we do get debuffed, but we didn't see a thing that said attack fell, just saw the, like, little animation. It's kind of strange. Now the opponent then sends in Guzzlord, and I will be able to go for 2 Night Slashes. I was hoping they'd think I was running Ice Punch. We actually do get a boost there, so the counters are able to do a bit more damage. And thankfully, we are just going to be able to farm them down with Steelix. They can go for a Crunch. We do get debuffed, unfortunately, so I will be sending in Lurantis. And Lurantis hopefully can just get a farm down, because there is a slight desync in the switch timers. And now, the opponent will actually send in a Giratina. This game actually does not look like it's just a straight up loss now, as Leaf Blade is not going to do much in a Giratina, but what matters is that Giratina just kind of gets destroyed by Steelix, and Lurantis can hopefully go for a Leaf Blade. I do overfarm though. I won't make it to a superpower, try and debuff myself so they get less farm, but if they're throwing, that's fine. Now, the thing about the Tentacruel is that even if they are able to get a Scald debuff, it really doesn't matter, because we're going to be having them low enough that basically a Crunch still should be taking him out. They're going to go for another Shadow Sneak. I am, of course, not shielding, because the Shadow Sneak's not going to do as much as a Scald, and I can go for Psychic Fangs. Psychic Fangs get shielded. I would assume they'd also shield this one, because this one will be doing even more damage, but shielding that first one was a mistake, as now, I just go for a third Psychic Fangs, and this one will do the most. They go for a Scald, no debuff as well. Now this Psychic Fangs, they're double debuff. This will hit pretty hard. Psychic Fangs nearly takes him out, and we get a full farm down, and this game's over. They can send in the Giratina, but we'll make it to a Crunch. Crunch, even onto a bulky Giratina, will still take him out, and we are able to take that game. We see Guzzlord on the lead in the next battle, and while this does look bad, we can actually farm up to 2 superpowers, and basically we get both shields, or we get one shield and get them below half health, or we just take them out with both of the superpowers. So it's not as bad as it seems. Now I can go for superpower number 1. Superpower number 1 actually does grab a shield, and now the opponent is looking probably like they're just going to farm down, so they can no-shield this one as it won't do as much, but it still does get them into the yellow. Unfortunately for them, there's really nowhere this energy goes against Steelix, so it's fine. Dragon Claw, resisted, not going to do much. The opponent sends in Virizion, and this is where having Ice Punch would be nice, but it's not going to be a complete just destruction of Annihilate since it doesn't, so it's fine. I can let this Leaf Blade go through because they basically never farm down, even at this health range. I'm going to go for a Night Slash here. I was not really trying to bait, but the opponent actually does shield it. I was just seeing if I could fish for a boost and then go for a Shadow Ball first, because I was probably going to have to commit a shield anyways, but if I get a shield, that's fine. This Shadow Ball still takes him out, and now what's the opponent going to send in? The opponent sends in the Guzzlord. I'm going to bank a Night Slash, switch into Steelix. Now the Guzzlord is going to go for a move. Now, is it a Crunch? Nope, it's a Brutal Swing. They have no debuff chance. And they send in Swampert. Now, Steelix is up a shield here, but I don't want to use it here, because if they just get a farm down, they will win CMP against Annihilate. So I need to leave with a Night Slash, which I did, and a shield. Now, I'm going to be able to make it to a Crunch. This should get them into range of the Night Slash, especially if we get a debuff. And now, while I do lose CMP, I can shield. We're not on 1 HP, so we can tank this Hydro Cannon, and this Night Slash will take him out. And while Dragon Tail from the Guzzlord would take us out, they have a 3-turn move, we have a 2-turn move. We get the move through first, and we take him out. See Greedent on the lead in the next battle. And, well, it does seem like going Superpower is a good idea here. You don't want to debuff yourself right away, so I'm just going to go straight Leaf Blade. I just want the guaranteed damage, but the opponent actually does shield it, which I was not expecting. But now, basically, if I'm going to let this Body Slam go through, the opponent actually sends in Giratina, though. So, kind of threw off what I was planning there. But I can send in Steelix. It still says not very effective, so yeah, the game was not functioning as it really should be. They go for a move, it's not going to do much. I'm going to be able to go for a Crunch. Now this Crunch will do some nice damage. It still says not very effective. I really do not know what was going on in the Niantic headquarters today, but regardless, it's still hitting for the same amount of damage, so yeah, as long as you know your typings, you get it. The opponent goes for a Shadow Force, so respect to them for that one, but unfortunately, we're still really not going to be easy to farm down with the Steelix. Now, I'm going to be going for a Crunch. The opponent is looking to farm down, but I actually make it to a Psychic Fangs here. And now I am going to try and snipe with Lurantis. My opponent might predict that. It looks like they do, and they send in Tentacruel. Now, the problem with sending in Tentacruel is that that Leaf Blade still will do some pretty good damage. They cannot farm down before I make another Leaf Blade, and this Leaf Blade will get them quite low. Now, the Greedent has a ton of energy, but 2 counter KOs, and also I can send an Annihilate. I'm hoping the opponent farms up to 5 just to throw on right before I make it to an Ice Punch, but it looks like they did that, and they were not expecting Night Slash. I win CMP, they lose 100 energy, and they send in the Greedent, but this game's over. Greedent cannot do enough. Trailblaze does some respectable damage, but a second one won't KO. They go for a Body Slam, that definitely won't KO. They get a farm down, and a 2 shield flex. We see Cresselia on the lead in the next battle, and the thing about this is that Lurantis is exceptionally spammy, and that's amazing, as Leaf Blade is one of the best moves in the game in terms of, I think, damage per energy, as it's a 70 power move, but it's like 36 energy, so it's basically 15 more damage than Aqua Tail for the same energy. Now, these Leaf Blades, since they're neutral, are going to add up a lot, and the opponent can go for a move here, and the opponent is going to throw a Moonblast. Not going to do too much. Well, I mean, like, it's not going to do enough to get us into a farm down range, and I can go for a Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade will nearly take him out, and we actually do get the farm down. The opponent then sends in Giratina, and I'm going for a Superpower, because I think this will lessen their farm by 1 Shadow Claw. Because I don't think having 1 less Shadow Claw is going to do anything in the Steelix matchup. It's not going to do them any favors, even if they had the Shadow Claw, but it's nice to deny them a bit of farm. They go for an Ancient Power, so it does look like they're definitely not in the best situation against Steelix. They then send in Poliwrath. If I'm being honest, I really should have thrown the Psychic Fangs first, just to get rid of some of the bulk, but it's perfectly fine that I didn't, as Annihilate just still basically beats Poliwrath. They can continue to debuff, but I can continue to fish for a boost, and also these counters still add up anyways. I'm going to shield. It is the Scald, and they do get a debuff, but these counters are still doing enough damage that they're still threatening. I go for a Night Slash, they no-shield it, and, well, it looks like those 2 debuffs got nullified, and now I can go for a Night Slash. They shield. I was expecting to switch into a Giratina, so I didn't throw. Now, they can go for a move here, but Giratina is not going to really be able to do much, and I'm guessing they're running Dragon Claw and Ancient Power. They still shouldn't be going for Ancient Power, as it's double resisted and does not get the same type attack bonus. However, I'm assuming they're just trying to fish for a boost. That's probably like one of their only win cons, except for the fact that it still does not win them the game. And now the opponent can send in the Poliwrath, but there's just not much they can do. I can even let this Scald go. I have a ton of energy, but I can just go for a farm down. I don't even get it, but that's fine. Annihilate gets the farm down, and we're able to take that game. We see Feraligatr on the lead in the next battle, and this Feraligatr's running Ice Fang? I guess someone didn't get the move update. Regardless, Leaf Blade is going to get a shield, and while they can go for a Crunch here, they're still probably going to be able to farm me down if they commit both shields, but that's fine. I'm hoping I can be able to make it to back-to-back Leaf Blades, but I'm barely not able to, and even if I had, they could have shielded and the Ice Fang would have gone through and taken me out. The opponent does no shield, and then they send in, I think that was Virizion. The opponent did send in Virizion. I could have made it to a Superpower here, but I was worried about the double kick KOing, so I didn't. The opponent then sends in Registeel, so it looks like Annihilate kind of core broke him, and we're able to take that game. Speaking of core breakers, though, we see Galarian Weezing. Galarian Weezing beats my whole team. Poison type is very good into Lurantis, Fairy type is good into Annihilate, and its access to Overheat, paired with its double resistance to Dragon Tail, and its respectable bulk just means it's not the best thing for this team to see. Now, I am going to be going for Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade, like, I did say it's resisted, but it's actually a stupidly powerful move, which I've mentioned before. And I can shield this Play Rough, and I should be able to actually start threatening shields with Leaf Blades. The opponent makes a nice catch onto Gliscopod. Gliscopod is also another Pokemon that is kind of a core breaker. I've decided to Annihilate simply because I don't want Lurantis to get farmed down, and Steelix takes super effective from the Liquidation, but Annihilate takes super effective from the Shadow Claws, which is not ideal. Now, I am not a big fan of ever going down 2 shields, so I do let the Liquidation go through. Kind of unfortunate, because that does a lot of damage, but I can go for a Night Slash. The opponent does shield, but Annihilate, I have a pretty high rank one, so I actually am able to get the full farm down, which is perfect, as the simultaneous KO does ensure that no one is going to be able to get a farm down on either side, which is fine. The opponent does have overheat, and then they send in a Shadow Swamper. Now, I'm hoping that the opponent's going to try and farm up a ton, and then go for a move to take out my Steelix. I'm trying to pull their shield here, but the opponent probably understands that Lurantis has a Leaf Blade and that they'll get sniped, so they're just no-shielding. Now, the thing is, Steelix is still just going to be able to get taken out by Hydro Cannon, and I will get a full farm down. Hydro Cannon is going to get shielded, and the thing about the Weezing is they have very little fast move pressure. I am able to make it to back-to-back Leaf Blades, and this Fairy Wind won't KO, so they have to let one of them go through. They let the first one go through, and we're able to take that game. Into the next battle, and we see Shadow Ampharos on the lead. Pretty good lead because we're going to be resisting the Volt Switches, and Brutal Swing is really the only thing they have that can hit for neutral, because Trailblaze and Thunder Punch are resisted. Now, 2 Brutal Swings does KO, which is unfortunate. The opponent does send in Guzzlord. Now, I'm hoping they thought they caught a Leaf Blade, but they do shield the superpower. It's perfectly fine, because Steelix basically shuts down Guzzlord anyways. And they're going to go for a move. I think they have enough for a Crunch here. They do go for the Crunch. No debuff, thankfully. I'm going to be able to go for Psychic Fangs. Now, Psychic Fangs gets a guaranteed defense debuff as opposed to Breaking Swipe, which would hit for super effective, but does not have a guaranteed attack drop. Now, the opponent is going to go for another Crunch. Going to get me kind of low, but I actually should be able to just get a full farm down. They also didn't get a single debuff with their Crunches, which is very nice. And now I'm going to be able to go for Psychic Fangs into this Jellicent. And if I want to, I can probably make it to 2 Crunches if I decide to commit shields. However, I'm hoping they just try and overfarm and let me make it to another Crunch. But they seem content to just go for a Surf. Now I can send in a Lurantis, and the opponent sends in the Ampharos, but there's not much they can do. They can go for a move here. I am just thinking that Lurantis does sweep here, so I'm not shielding. I will be able to basically make it to back-to-back Night Slashes, and this first one should probably just take him out. And the opponent can send in the Jellicent, but I can make it to 2 Night Slashes easily. But at this point, I decide it's possible to 2-shield flex, so I am going to be 2-shield flexing. Now the opponent, actually it looks like they did let the Night Slash go through, I'm not sure. And they did, but Lurantis will farm him down, and we do take the game. We see Kyurem on the lead in the next battle, and I probably should be safe switching out, but I want to throw a superpower just to grab a shield. Now, this is kind of not the best idea because it does let them get a Glaciate debuff pretty early on, and this means they can probably just debuff and switch out. They do debuff, and then they send in Machamp. Now, I'm going to be able to go for Psychic Fangs, and I'm pretty sure that I could make it to another Psychic Fangs if Cross Chop didn't get buffed. I honestly do think that Cross Chop might not have KO'd because it was a normal Machamp, but with the buff, it does. Fortunately, I can send in Annihilate, and Annihilate's energy here is just going to basically be able to punish most things. They go for a Rock Slide. It does not do too much. And then the opponent, I'm assuming, is going to send in something besides the Kyurem, and the opponent is going to send in a Togekiss. Now that my Steelix is gone, I kind of am screwed here. Now, I'm going to go for a bait because I was expecting them to shield, but they actually no-shield it. I'm going to be able to make it to another Leaf Blade, though, and this Leaf Blade should be getting a shield. It does grab the shield, and I want to see if Annihilate wins CMP because I was hoping I could deny a Glaciate debuff, but the opponent actually went for a Dragon Claw. I did lose CMP, though, so my only real win con here is a boost now to make it to a Shadow Ball, but no boost. And I can go for the Shadow Ball here, but it's just not going to do enough, unfortunately. Shadow Ball hits extremely hard, but it's not enough to take him out, and we do lose that game. Alright, hopping into the final battle, and we see one more Ampharos. The opponent immediately sends in Gliscod, and I'm going for a Leaf Blade, and I'm hoping that I can try and catch an X-Scissor or an Aerial Ace. So I farm up one more, and I switch into Annihilate, and the opponent does have great patience, and they do hold on to their energy, which is not ideal for me, and they're able to go for a Liquidation. Now I'm going to go for a Night Slash. This Night Slash will get them quite low, and the opponent does have a move to go for here. I will shield because I'm worried about a Liquidation, but now it's just the X-Scissor, of course. But on the bright side, it does mean I leave with a couple counters worth of energy, so if the Ampharos tries to farm down, they will get hit by a Shadow Ball. This is a normal Ampharos. Shadow Ball hits still pretty hard, and the opponent then sends in a feraligatr. Now, feraligatr, still not going to be a big fan of Lurantis, even when up a shield. I'm going to shield the first move because it's a crunch, and I do get debuff, so that is kind of a misplay, but I was worried that if I no-shielded it, then I would actually just get farmed down by Shadow Claws. Now I go for one Leaf Blade, and I win CMP on the next Leaf Blade. Now this Leaf Blade will basically just guaranteed grab a shield. The opponent's going to go for a crunch. With the debuff, this will take me out, or come very close, and then I send in Steelix. They will make it to a Hydro Cannon here. I'm expecting them to try to catch, because Feraligatr is very useful, but it doesn't have any shields. The opponent sends in the Ampharos, but sends in a normal Ampharos. They actually went for a Thunder Punch. Kind of a strange play, but I do not think 2 Brutal Swings would have KO'd here. And so basically, this Brutal Swing, yeah, I think I could have tanked too. And the opponent sends in Feraligatr, but they concede the match as they're basically done for. Alright, so overall, Lurantis in the Ultra League, this is something I built a while ago, but I always wanted to feature it, but there was never like really any spot in the meta for it to counter. But now that Feraligatr is kind of common in the Ultra League, this thing is able to just kind of wreck Feraligatr. And also it can beat Empoleon as long as there's shields in play. Like in the 2 shields, Lurantis just kind of crushes Empoleon because it does have a pacing advantage. So it's pretty nice. Anyways, that's pretty much it for today's video. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.